Some of us as entrepreneurs believe that we have to start off with a lot of funds or that we need X amount of dollars. And for me, at least, it wasn't that way. Hey, what's up? This is Jerry from Oasis Tires. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a little, kind of like a talk show to help pretty much entrepreneurs that have been in the industry that are having some struggles. And one of the main points is obviously just to reach out and network and pretty much create a network where we could solve problems and just problems that I might have that my testimony could help others. I mean, that'd be great. Later on in the show, we're going to have pretty much other business owners. So just to talk a little bit about my story and how Oasis Tires was formed. My father came into the United States as an immigrant. He started working at a tire shop down in Alameda. So he started off as a tire technician and he worked for several years. After a couple of years, we were out at Wet n Wild, so he fractured his neck. And then after fracturing his neck, well, obviously he couldn't do any more tires or tire busting. So he asked the owner pretty much to see if he could become a sales rep. After becoming a sales rep, he pretty much dominated the market for a couple of years. He became the best sales rep and eventually became a manager of the store. One day, I guess he was pretty much, hungry, you could say. And then they got in an argument, so he decided to quit. The next couple of months were kind of like our downfalls. We went out to Las Vegas, Nevada, because they were hiring for construction positions. So it was 5 families, total of like around 20 people. And we all moved into an apartment that was about 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. And we had literally no furniture. We had no bed. We were sleeping on the floor. Anyways, I was about 10 years old when this happened. And it was a very interesting story. I mean, he started working he couldn't find any work in the construction, which was the original plan. So he started working out for a tire company out there called Big O Tires. I remember we were pulling out mattresses from the mattress firms, like the recycled container bins and stuff like that, and we were sleeping out pretty much on those mattresses. For a couple of months, they didn't make it for whatever reason, so he came back to El Paso, and he started working for a company called El Gallito Inglés, the one on Alameda and Americas. He worked there for a couple of months, and then he came across this property that was on 688 Horizon Boulevard, which was our first location. So it's kind of funny because the way that things fell into place is the guy wanted around $10,000 to start off the business. So my dad jumped on it right away, even though he didn't even have the money. So from there, he asked my aunt for cash, and all they could come up with was about $2,000. So by the time my aunt lived about an hour away from here, so we didn't even have money for gas to get there. So I remember being about 12 years old. We were scavenging for money, like we used to live in a mobile home. So we were finding money like in the air ducts, in between the couches and underneath the seats of a truck. So long story short, we came up with $17. So with those $17, he put gas in his truck, picked up the money, went out to the guy, and he's like, hey, you know what, I'll give you the $2,000 down. And then the next thing is he just pretty much asked. So one of the reasons I'm telling you this part is because some of us as entrepreneurs believe that we have to start off with a lot of funds or that we need X amount of dollars. And for me, at least, it wasn't that way. We were able to start literally with like $17, and using other people's money. Long story short, so we ended up using those $2,000. We started off on October of 1999, and we only did used tires, tire repairs. And then from there, obviously the company started growing. I was in middle school at the time. So we worked from sunrise till the sun goes down. And then started growing little by little. We started putting in new tires. We started putting in new wheels. And that's how we grow the business. So from there, it's kind of funny because my dad had his best friend at the time working for him. And they got in an argument or whatever. So he decided to go to a different company to go work for them or whatever. So my dad, he was all pissed off or whatever. So we went and spied on him to see if he was actually working there. So after we closed down our shop, we drove out there to see if he was working. We parked next to a gas station that was next to the tire store where he was working, and just to find out that the gas station was for sale. So he ended up buying the gas station, and then that's where we would open up our second location, which is at 9949 Alameda. We worked both locations for this was in 2004, so we worked for about 5 years that way. And then later down the road, I started developing. For example, I was working in the tire technician side. I became a sales rep. And then from there, we had another employee that went out to work he quit and he went to go work for another company. And once in a while, I would call him like, hey, you know what, come back to work. And he was like, no, I'm going to be loyal to this company. One day I received a phone call. And then he's all like, hey, in my mind, I was like, he's going to come back to work. So from there, he's all like, hey, my boss just told me that we're going to be selling. So just out of curiosity, I told my dad, I'm like, hey, you know what? They're selling this big company. It's got 4 locations. Let's go check it out. So we went out and checked it out. It was one of the bigger companies that was in El Paso at the time for tires, the same business that we do. So I guess it was our time for growth. We ended up negotiating, and then we moved from 2 locations to a total of 5 locations. We bought out 3 of the stores that he had. And again, it was the same scenario where they threw us a price. We didn't have enough capital to work with. So here we go again. We were struggling. We were asking for money from friends, family, and somehow, some way, we ended up coming up with the money to close on the deal. So from one day to another, we grew from 15 employees to about 65 employees. And that's one of the biggest headaches were coming in, because we weren't structured properly as far as like our HR components. We weren't structured with employee benefits. I've never managed or I've never worked for anybody else, so it was a hard time for me trying to structure the company to run smoothly. So it took me about 2 years to structure the company properly, as far as like your HR components, the hiring, procedures, and stuff like that. So ever since then, I mean, we established my whole goal is to establish not just a job opportunity, but it is to establish a career and eventually be part of our family as you come in to work for Oasis Tires. One of the things that's made us strong is pretty much establishing our procedures and how we do things, what happens whenever you receive a customer, and what happens with what goes into a tire sale. So there's a lot of different components into running a business. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment your concerns or how can I help you. And then eventually we're going to have other business owners coming into the program for them to discuss their stories, and for people to reach out, and we might be able to find a solution for you guys.